Namaste. We start the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita now. It's called as Dhyana Yoga, Yoga of Meditation. Shri Bhagavan Uvach. Anashritaha karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnihi na cha akriyaha. So Krishna is not defining who is the real sannyasi. One who is anashritaha karma phalam, who is not dependent or attached to the fruits of his work, fruits of his action. Anashritaha karma phalam. Karyam karma karoti yaha. And he or she keeps performing the actions. Karyam karma karoti yaha. Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. He is the true yogi. He is the true sannyasi. Na niragnihi cha na cha akriyaha. One who becomes actionless, akriyaha, or niragnihi, without fire. Why without fire? Because all householders were supposed to keep performing yajnas in ancient times. If you stop performing yajnas at home, you stop being a householder. So just because you renounce fire does not make you true sannyasi. So the real definition of sannyasi is to become unattached, non-dependent on the fruit from the fruits of your actions. All right, second verse, 6th chapter. Yam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi ya asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Rare is a yogi bhavati kaschana, rare, kaschana, somebody but very rarely. That which, so yam sannyasam iti prahur. What is the real sannyas called as? Yogam tam vidhi pandava. Pandava, Arjun, O Pandava, vidhi, know this. Nahi ya asanyasta sankalpa. One who has renounced all the determination, all new ambitions. If you renounce that, then you are a true sannyasi. Let's see what translator says here. That which they call renunciation, know that to be yoga, Arjun. Without renouncing selfish purpose, no one becomes a yogin. Once you renounce your purpose, your ambition, your desire, that makes you a true sannyasi, true yogi, like I said. All right, chapter. Now the verse 3rd, chapter 6. Arukshoho munehe yogam karma karanam uchyate yoga rudhasya tasya eva shamah karanam uchyate. For the sage desires of attaining yoga, aru rukshoho mune yogam. One who wants to desire attaining yoga, karma karanam uchyate. For him or her, action is the purpose. Action is said to be the means. Yoga rudhasya tasya eva. But for him who has already attained yoga, yoga rudhasya tasya eva, shamah karanam uchyate. Peace, tranquility is said to be the means. Shamaha, shaman, to tranquil, to quieten, to calm somebody, something or somebody is shaman. Shamaha karanam uchyate. Tranquility is the prerequisite of attaining yoga. Verse 4th. Yadahi na indriyartheshu na karmasva anusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudha tada uchyate. One yadahi na indriyartheshu, one who is not attached to the fruits of the senses. Indriyartheshu, indriyas are the senses, as you know. Indriyarthe, object of the senses. Na karmasva anusajjate, who is not attached to his actions. Anusajjate, attachment. Sarva sankalpa sannyasi, one who has renounced all ambitions, all determinations, or all desires. Yoga rudha tada uchyate. He is the true yogi. When he is attached neither to the objects of the senses nor to actions and has renounced all purpose, he is then said to have attained yoga. 5th verse. Uddharet atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet atma eva hi atmano bandhuhu atma eva ripuhu atmanah. That is, you need to keep employing your own soul for your soul's upliftment, your soul's progress. Uddharet atmana atmanam. Working for the self with a capital S through self. One should uplift oneself by the self. Uddharet. Uddharet is upliftment. Right? Na atmanam avasadayet. One should not degrade oneself. Atmanam avasadayet. Uddharet is, uddhar is a upliftment. Avasad is downfall, kind of degradation. Atma eva hi atmano bandhu. Atma is the best friend, best sibling, best brother, sister, sibling, right? is of one's Atma. Bandhu word is also used as a friend word for friend in Bengali. Similar is the case here in Sanskrit, right here in this verse. Atma hi eva hi atmanah bandhu. The best friend of oneself is one's own self. Atma eva ripuhu atmana. But Atma can also be one's own enemy, the worst enemy also. Sixth verse. Bandhuhu atma atmanastasya yena atma eva atmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartet atma eva shatruvat. One's atma, one's self can be one's worst enemy or best friend, depending on how you advance in your spiritual path. For him who has conquered himself by the self, if you conquered your own self, your own desires, your attachment, you've conquered all that, then Atma is your best friend. Right? But for him who has not conquered himself, one who is still a slave to the fruits of action or all the desires, all the objects of senses, then your Atma can be your worst enemy. And finally, the seventh verse for this time. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitah shita ushna sukh dukkheshu tatha man apaman yohu. One who has conquered, jitatmanah, one who has conquered his own mind. Prashantasya, peaceful, one who is peaceful and calm. Paramatma samahitah, one who is established in Paramatma. For whom all these are equal. Sheet, ushna, cold and heat. Sukh and dukh. Tatha, man and apaman. If man and apaman, that is respect and apaman is kind of dishonor, honor or dishonor are equal, cold, heat are equal, pleasure, pain are equal, then you have conquered yourself and you can be really established in the ultimate peacefulness, calmness. Chapter 6, verse 8. Jnana Vigyan Triptatma Kutastha Vijitendriyah Yukta iti uchyate yogi Samuloshta Ashma Kanchanaha. For a true yogi, Yukta iti uchyate yogi, one who is called a yogi, is how that person should be. That for that person is Tripta Atma. That person is satisfied in Gyan and Vigyan. Jnana Vigyan Tripta Atma. Self-awareness, self-knowledge, that person is satisfied with that self-knowledge. Kutastaha, that person is stable and stationed and located as if that person is on a mountain top, beyond everybody, beyond everything, high, beyond everything, transcending everything. Vijitendriyaha, that person has conquered all their senses. And Samaloshta Ashma Kanchanaha, for that person, Kanchanaha, gold, Ashmaha, stone, and Loshta means piece of clay. So for that person, clay or stone or gold are all equal. They don't have any special value or lesser value. Verse 9. Suran mitraha ari udasin madhyastha dveshaya bandhushu sadhushva apicha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. That person is samabuddhi. Equal, again, equanimity. That person is equanimous. Vishishyate, he's that unique, special capability that person has in looking at everybody as equal. Whether that person is looking at equal-minded towards a friend, companion, or enemy. Suran, mitra, friend, ari, and udasin. And also that person is neutral, balanced, equanimous for all his friends and enemies. Madhyast or bandhu or even somebody who is supposed to be hated, even for that person, this person, the true yogi, is equal, equanimous for everybody. Sadhushu towards sadhus or papeshu. Those who are sinful, those who are noble, for that person, everybody is equal. Verse 10th. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. Again, the true yogi is constantly in yoga, constantly in union with one's own self. Atmanam rahasi sthita. That person dwells in one's own self, stable, stationed inside, in her or his own soul. Ekaki, alone. Yata chittatma. That person his mind is again dwelling on one's own self, soul. nirashir, beyond any desires, beyond any hopes or expectations, and aparigraha, not accumulating, not possessing any worldly objects. A true yogi. Aparigraha, of course, is also very important, very strong word in Jainism, which means the same thing, not accumulating or not possessing any physical objects. Verse 11. Shuchau deshe pratisthapya sthiram asanam atmanah na ati uch itam na ati nicham chailajina kushottaram. So that person, Shuchau deshe pratisthapya, that person is established, stationed in a place which is extremely clean, physically, mentally clean place. Shuchau deshe, place, Shuchau, clean. Sthiram asan, stable position, stable posture. Atmana, once again, dwelling in one's own self. Na ati uchcharitam, na ati nicham. Not very high place, not very low place. Chaila ajna kusha uttaram. That person is covered with a cloth, an antelope skin, mrig charma, and kusha grass. So that person sits on a seat that is made out of kusha grass, special kind of a grass, and covered with that place is covered with a special kind of a skin, and that person has a special kind of cloth. So typical garment, typical robe of a sannyasi is established here, is explained here, especially a Hindu yogi or a Hindu sannyasi. This is how that person lives or does the yoga. Then what that person does? Tatra ekagram manah kritva yata chitta indriya kriyah upavishya asane yunjat yogam atma vishuddhe. Again, that person is doing a clean, absolutely pure kind of a yoga, vishuddhaya, yogam atma vishuddhaya, for one's own cleansing of one's own soul. Upavishya asane yunjat, sitting in that kind of a position. How and doing what? Yata chinta indriya kriya. All his sense objects, all their sense objects are completely self-controlled, self-restrained, and tatra ekagram manah kritva. And that person then focuses his or her mind, manah kritva, mind, manah kritva, kritva having done, tatra ekagram, with single pointed focus on one's own mind. Self-controlled, self-focusing on one's own mind and one's own soul. 13th verse. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayan achalam sthiraha samprekshya nasikagram swam dishashchana avalokayan. And not looking in any other direction. That person is focusing on the middle of one's own two eyes. So samam kaya shiro grivam. First of all, straight body, straight head, and straight neck. Body, head, and neck are completely erect, completely straight. Dharayan achalam sthiraha. And extremely stable and extremely motionless, extremely constant posture. Sampreksha nasikagram. Nasika is nose. Nasikagram. So focusing on this place. Swam. And dishashcha ana avalokayan. Not looking at anywhere else. So that again, complete focus, complete concentration. And finally, verse 14th. Prashantatma vigat bhir brahmachari vrate sthitaha manah sanyamya ma'achitto yukta asit matparaha. That person is yukta, a true yogi, when with quieted mind. Prashantatma. Prashant, quiet. Atma, quieted mind. Vigata bhir. Bhir is fear. Vigata bhir. That fear, all of his fear are gone. Brahmachari vrate. That person is practicing absolute brahmacharya. Brahmachari vrate. Sthitaha, established. Manah sanyam, self-restraint. Machitto, his mind is self-controlled, self-restrained. Yukta asit matpara. So with quieted mind, banishing fear, established in the brahmachari vow of celibacy, controlling the mind with thoughts fixed on self, he should sit concentrated, devoted on. So I just read on from the translation by this book by Winthrop Sargeant, as we have been referring. Yujjanna evam sada atmanam yogi niyatamanasah shanti nirvana paramam mat sansthaam adhigacchati. Yujjanna evam sada atmanam yogi niyatamanasah. One who is stationed, established in one's own self. Once again, it's a definition of true yogi by Krishna. This entire chapter is about meditation. So continuing with the same description that's going on from last 14 verses, 15 verses continuing with that. Thus continuing disciplining himself, yujjanna evam sada atmanam. Yujjanna means yuj is the root to perform yoga, to yoke with one's own self. Yujjanna evam sada atmanam. Yoga with one's own self. Yogi niyata manasa, niyat, regular, disciplined manasa in his own mind. Shanti nirvana paramam, goes to nirvana. Nirvana is the Buddhist word for moksha, but here Krishna is using the same word. Usually it is used as Brahma Nirvana in Bhagavad Gita in Hinduism, but here it's simply Nirvana, which is a Buddhist term. Shanti Nirvana Paramam, supreme, param Shanti, Paramam. Mat Sanstham Adhigachati. So he undergoes the ultimate peace, ultimate liberation by establishing, stationing in one's own self. So translator here says, the book is right here, thus continually disciplining himself, the yogi whose mind is subdued goes to nirvana, to supreme peace, to union with me. Again, merger with the Brahman, merger with Krishna. Verse 16th, chapter 6. Na ati ashnatastu yogaha ati, na cha ekantam anashnataha, na cha ati swapnashilasya, jagratah na eva cha arjuna. So Hinduism is all about avoiding the extreme. Not too lazy, not too awake, not eating too much, not eating less. So let's see what he says. Na ati ashnatastu yoga ati. Yogi is not one who eats too much. Ashnatas, eating too much. Ati is to be varjayet. The extreme of everything is to be avoided in Hinduism. So that's the teaching here. Na ati ashnatastu yoga ati. Na cha ekantam anashnatah. Not complete fast either. Not eating too much, not fasting too much. Na cha ati swapnashilasya. Swapna here does not mean dream. Swapna means to sleep. Na cha ati swapnashilasya. One who is not sleeping too much. Jagratah na eva cha arjuna. One who completely avoids sleep is also not the preferred way. So choose the middle path. No extreme. Jainism, on the other hand, is going up into ultimate of fasting, ultimate of everything. But here the teaching is to avoid the extremes, choose the middle path. So translator here says, yoga is not eating too much, nor is it not eating at all, not the habit of sleeping too much and not keeping awake either, Arjun. Alright, verse 17, very popular. Yuktahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna avabodhasya, yogaha bhavati dukhaha. Ha means to remove all dukha. So how does a yogi, one yogi or a yogi or the yogi remove all his or her suffering? How? Yukta ahara viharasya. Appropriate, absolutely what is right, what Jainism might call as samyak. Here the word uses yukta. Yukta means appropriate, the right ahar, right food, right vihar, right all other activities. Yukta cheshtasya karmasu. Right amount or samyak efforts, samyak actions, cheshtasya, efforts, karmasu, in action. Yukta swapna, appropriate sleep. Avabodhasya, appropriate awakeness. Right? Yoga bhavati. That is how you avoid all your suffering. So translator says here, for him who is moderate in food and diversion, whose actions are disciplined, who is moderate in sleep and walking, yoga destroys all sorrow. Verse 18th. Yada viniyatam chittam atmani eva avatisthate nispraha sarva kamebhyo yukta iti uchyate tada. One who is yukt, who is the true yogi, who is one who is yukta. Yada viniyatam chittam, one whose mind, when the mind is completely self-controlled, self-disciplined, viniyatam chittam, mind, atmani eva avatisthate. Using mind, you establish yourself completely in your own self. Nispraha sarva kamebhyo. And you get rid of all desires, kamebhyo. Nispraha. Nispraha is here free from desire, same meaning, similar meaning. Nispraha sarva kamebhyo. You liberated from all desires. Yukta iti uchyate tada. That is the true yogi. So translation is, when he is absorbed in the self alone, with controlled mind, free from longing, from all desires, then that person is said to be yogi. Translator says saint, but I think let's stick with the original word, yukta, which means yogi. All right, verse 19th. Very interesting. Yatha deepah nivatah atho na ingite sa upama smita yoginah yat chittasya yunjato yogam atmanah. Once again, yoga with one's own self. Yunjato yogam atmanah. Yoginah yat chittasya, whose mind, chittasya, mind, yoginah yat chittasya, na ingite sa upama smita yatha deepah nivatah. Yatha deepah nivatah. That is nivatastha. That is when a lamp is burning in a place where there is no wind. Nivat means vacuum. In vacuum, a lamp will burn absolutely straight without any flickering. Right? So na ingite. So that is how mind is compared. The one focused mind is like a lamp, like a flame that is not flickering because there is no wind. That is how one should focus one's mind and be established, be stationed in one's own self. Translation says, as a lamp in a windless place does not flicker, to such is compared the yogi of controlled mind performing the yoga of the self. Verse 20th. Yatra uparamate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra cha eva atmana atmanam pashyan atmani tushyati. Pashyan, to see. Atmani, to see one's own self. Tushyati, satisfied. Yatra cha eva atmana atmanam, to see self by self. Niruddham yoga sevaya, by completely, absolutely self-control, mind control. Yatra uparamate chittam, when mind is absolutely calm, peaceful, in that absolutely restrained form of yoga, when you see yourself in meditation, then the ultimate peace is obtained. So translation says, when the mind comes to rest, restrained by the practice of yoga, when beholding the self by the self, he is content in the self. And the 21st verse. Sukham atyantikam yaptad buddhi grayam yati indriyam veti yatra na cha eva ayam sthitaschalati tatvatah. Sthitah chalati tatvatah. So, what he says, Sukham atyantikam yattad, that extreme, infinite peace, infinite bliss or infinite happiness. Atyant, ant means end. So, never ending or infinite blissful, infinite bliss or infinite happiness. Buddhi grayam, grasped by intellect. Yatindriyam, beyond one's own senses. Veti, he or she obtains that bliss that is grasped by intellect but not to be understood by senses. Yatra na cha eva ayam sthitah chalati tattva. So that is how one knows the real truth, when in that complete meditation, complete concentration, self-control, one knows the ultimate bliss. Translation says, he knows that infinite happiness which is grasped by the intellect and transcends the senses and established there, does not deviate from the truth. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 22nd. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tatah yasmin sthitah na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyet. So Krishna is once again continuing with the explanation of how one should do meditation. The whole chapter is Dhyana Yoga, meditation techniques, meditation practice, the process of meditation. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham. Aparam, other, labham, benefit. Yam labdhva, having obtained, having attained this. No, manyate na adhikam tatah. Nothing greater than that. Na adhikam tatah. From that, the tatah, na adhikam, greater. Manyate, possible. Yasmin sthitah na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyet. Yasmin, in that state, sthitam, na dukkhena, gurunapi. Guru in the sense here, guru is not guru. Guru means simply great or extreme. Extreme sorrow, dukkhena guruna. Extreme sorrow or great sorrow, na api vichalyet. Even a great sorrow, even the great sorrow cannot disturb that person who is trying to meditate. So the translation is, having attained this, that highest state, No greater gain can he imagine. Established in this, he is not moved even by profound sorrow. Na dukhen guruna pi vichalyet. Nothing can disturb that state of meditation. 23rd. Tam vidyat dukha sanyog viyogam yoga sangitam sa nishchayen yah yoktavya yoga anirvinna chetasa. So what is the ideal state of yoga? When the mind is not attached or detached to sorrow or happiness. Tam vidyat, that knowledge, that state of mind. Right? Dukha sanyoga viyogam. Dukha, sorrow is not, dukha sanyog is now dissolved. That attachment is gone. Yoga sangitam, that is the highest state of yoga. Sa nishchayena yoktavya, that is the state to be attained through yoga. Yoga anirvinna chetasa. Anirvin, interesting word. Not downcast, undismayed. That person remains focused in his meditation, even not affected by sorrow or happiness. Let this dissolution of union with pain be known as yoga. The yoga is to be practiced with determination. Sa nishchayen yoktavya. Nishchayen, with determination. Yoga, and with an undismayed mind. Yoga anirvinna chetasa. Not disturbed, not dismayed by anything. 24th, 6th chapter, 24th verse. Sankalpa prabhavan kamans tyaktva sarvan asheshatah manasa eva indriya gramam viniyamya samantatah. Viniyamya, again, once again, regulated, disciplined. We have encountered this word earlier. Niyam means rule in general, Hindi or Marathi, Gujarati, in North Indian languages, but here niyam means restrain or discipline. So viniyamya, having disciplined, regulated his senses and his mind, samantataha, completely. Manasa eva indriyagram. Through mind, you have to regulate, discipline the mind through mind, but through mind you have to also control and discipline and regulate your senses. Right? Here, seeing, hearing and everything, smell and everything. Tyaktva sarvan asheshata. Without exception. Asheshata is exception. Sarvan, all. Tyaktva, having abandoned all exceptions. Sankalpa prabhavan kamans, abandoning those desires whose origin lie in one's intention. Sankalpa prabhavan kamans. So having abandoned all desires, all intentions, and controlling all the senses and minds, what happens? Shanai, 25th verse. Shanaihi uparamed buddhaya dhruti grahitaya atmasanstham manaha kritva na kinchit api chintayet. That person should not think of anything else. Na kinchit api chintayet. Chinta is not worry. Chinta simply means to think here. Na kinchit api chintayet. Nothing to be thought in meditation. And do what? Atma sanstham manaha kritva. Mind has to be stationed in self. Buddhaya dhriti grahitaya. Grahitaya is grasped, controlled. Dhriti, firmly grasped intellect. Buddhaya dhriti grahitaya. Shanaihi uparmed. Slowly resting one's mind. So little by little, person should come to rest with the intellect firmly held, dhriti grahitya, his mind having established in the self, atma sanstham manaha kritva, na kinchit api chintayet. 26th verse. Yataha nischarati manaha chanchalam asthiram tataha niyamyai tad atmanya eva vasham nayet. So vasham again, controlling in the self. Atmanya eva vasham nayet. Vash, to control. Nayet, to bring mind into one's control. Yataha nischarati. As mind wavers. Right? Nischarayit is wavering. Yes. And mana chanchalam asthiram. Unstable mind. Right? Which is always trying to get distracted. Tataha. So then tataha niyamyai tad. So you have to control the mind and try to be stationed in one's own self. 27th. Prashant manasam hi enam yoginam sukham uttamam, highest bliss. Upaiti shanta rajasam, all the passions are calmed. Brahma bhutam akal masham. So that person becomes Brahma bhutam, the highest state of merging with the Brahman, Brahma bhutam. Akal masham, all pap are gone, all the negative karmas are all gone. Upaiti shanti rajasam. All the passions are calmed or removed. Yoginam sukham uttam, that's the highest bliss. Prashant manasam hi enam, with that calm and peaceful mind. So yogi whose mind is peaceful, prashantu manasam, whose passions are controlled, upaiti shanti rajasam, free of evil, akalmasham, has become one with Brahman, Brahmabhutam, attains the highest bliss. Yoginam sukham uttamam. And the 28th verse, Yujjanna evam sada atmanam, yogi vigata kalmashah, sukhen brahma sansparsham, atyantam sukham ashnute. Once again, that person attains highest bliss, and he is in constant vicinity of Brahman. He is in touch with Brahman. Yogi will vigata kalmashah is all his negative karmas, papas are all gone. Yujjanna evam sada atmanam, because that person is constantly united with one's own self. So thus constantly disciplining himself or herself. The yogin freed from evil, pap or negative karma, easily encountering Brahman, attains happiness beyond end. Verse 29, chapter 6. Sarva bhutastham atmanam, sarva bhutani cha atmani, ikshate yoga yuktatma, sarvatra samadarshanaha. The philosophy of Advait Vedant comes back here. Even in this chapter, Bhagavad Gita is full of Advait Vedant, and Advait Vedant is here in verse 29, chapter 6 on Dhyana Yoga. The whole chapter is dedicated to meditation. In meditation, what happens? Sarva bhutastham atmanam. Sarva bhutani cha atmani. In the self, that person doing the ultimate meditation, yogic meditation, yoga, is supposed to envision the entire being, entire universe in the self, and self in the entire universe. Same Brahman in every particle of the universe. That is the Advait Vedant. That is what Krishna is teaching Arjuna here, and through Arjuna is obviously preaching to all of us. What is that Advait Vedant? Sarvatra samadarshanaha. Equanimity, equality in everything, in every situation, in every particle, in every being. That is the core teaching of Advait Vedanta in Hinduism. Sarvatra samadarshanaha. Ikshate yoga yuktatma. One who is united, joined, doing the ultimate yoga, ultimate meditation. Yoga is equated with meditation almost here. Right? Yoga is not just physical postures. Yoga is meditation. Meditation is yoga, because yoga ultimately is joining of our soul with the ultimate soul, that is Brahman, Vishwatma. The Brahman is to be united. That is the yoga definition of yoga. Ikshate, he sees, he or she sees, singular here. Yoga yuktatma, sarva bhutani atmani, sarva bhutastham atmanam. So, he who is disciplined by yoga sees the self present in all beings and all beings present in the self. He sees the same self at all times. Verse 30, chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. The entire chapter is yoga of meditation, yoga and meditation, or yoga of meditation. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, sarvacha mai pashyati, tasya aham na pranashyami, sa cha me na pranashyati. Amazing, almost like a promise by the Lord, by the Supreme Being, here Krishna, but referring to the ultimate transcendental being. So the previous verse, if it was talking about Advait, this little bit becomes Dvait. How? Because that ultimate Brahman, Krishna says that I am. So, yo mam pashyati sarvatra. One who sees me everywhere. Sarvatra, yatra tatra sarvatra. Yatra means where, tatra there, sarvatra everywhere. Yaha mam, who, mam, me, pashyati, sees, sarvatra everywhere. Sarvacha mai pashyati. In me sees everything. Everything, every particle of the universe he sees, he or she sees in me. Tasya aham na pranashyami. I will never perish. I will never lose that person who sees me in everything in me. Sacha me na pranashyati. Now this is striking. This is revolutionary. Krishna is saying even the person who is in that situation, one who is practicing that kind of Vedant, Advait Vedant, will not perish me. That person doing meditation will not lose the ultimate transcendental being in their own being. So person cannot perish the Lord. Lord cannot perish person. This is amazing, revolutionary statement by Krishna. So he is equating himself with the ultimate person that is doing that meditation. Meditating person and Lord are becoming equal here. Talk of equality, egalitarianism and so on, that we talk in political speeches, social speeches, and so on. This is spiritual equality. Ultimate spiritual equality is mentioned in this verse. He who sees me everywhere and sees all things in me, I am not lost to him and he is not lost to me. Verse 31. Sarvabhuta sthitam yahamam bhajati ekatvam asthitah sarvatha vartamanah api sayogi mai vartate. Sayogi mai vartate. That yogi lives, dwells in me. Right? Sarvabhuta sthitam yahamam. Again, that person doing that meditation sees me in every being. Bhoot in Hindi becomes ghost in common Indian languages. But bhoot is not ghost. Bhoot means beings. Bhoot comes from the root bhu, to be. Bhoot, the being, the noun. Sarvabhuta sthitam yahamam. He sees me in all beings of the universe. Bhajati ekatvam astha. That person worships, reveres, respects all beings as if they represent me, the Lord. Sarvatha vartamana hapi. Sa yogi mai vartate. So that person lives everywhere. That person can see the divinity everywhere, and that person lives in me. So the yogin who established in oneness honors me as abiding in all beings, in whatever way he otherwise acts, dwells in me. In English, you have to keep saying he and she. In Sanskrit, it is yaha, or the pronouns are not, the language is not that gender specific, it's gender neutral. In English, we have to keep saying yaha and he and she. Anyway, verse 32. Atma apamena sarvatra. So it's a sandhi, right? Atma and then apamena sarvatra. Samam pashyati yaha arjuna. Sukham va yadi va dukkham. Sayogi paramaha mataha. I've created a short also on these words sukh and dukh. Here there is a word in this verse 32, chapter 6. Sukham va yadi va dukkham. Sukh and dukh, both are based on the two prefixes of su plus kha, du plus kha. Right? Kha simply means space. Kha, if you add ga, verb, to go, space goer. So a bird is a khaga. Astronaut is also khaga. Sukha, pleasant space. Dukha, unpleasant space. Sukh is happiness, dukh is sorrow. But they come from these words su and kha if we add ga, it becomes khaga. Anyway, so atma upamena sarvatra. By comparison, upama means comparison, analogy. So as a comparison, as an analogy, if that person can see atma everywhere, samam pashyati yaha Arjuna. O Arjun, that person sees with equanimity, equality, once again equality, samam, equality. Sukham va, and in all situations, same equanimity, same equality. Sa yogi paramaha mataha. In my opinion, Lord is saying, Krishna is saying, in my opinion, in my thought, that person is the supreme yogi. He or she who sees equality in everything in the image of his own self, O Arjuna, whether in pleasure or in pain, is thought to be a supreme yogi, is considered a supreme yogi. Verse 33. Arjun comes back. Arjun has been missing from the dialogue. He was just listening quietly, hopefully with all the concentration. But now he is speaking again. Arjuna uvach. Uvach, Arjun spoke. What did he say? What now he's saying? He's being very transparent and honest. And he represents all of us. Just the way we find doing meditation so difficult, Arjuna is saying the exact same feeling he's expressing. What is he saying? Yaha ayam yogaha tvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. You have said all these things. Yaha ayam yogaha tvaya prokta. By you has been said all these things you have spoken. By you has been spoken. Yaha ayam yoga. This yoga that is spoken by you, mentioned by you, samyena madhusudana. You have equated yoga with equanimity, O Madhusudana, O slayer of the demon Madhusudana. O Madhusudana, O Krishna, another epithet of Krishna. Etas aham na pashyami. I cannot see that yoga because chanchalatvat, because my mind is naturally very unstable and it has not yet attained the situation of equality or stability. So Arjuna spoke this yoga which is declared by you, and as evenness of mind, O Krishna, I do not perceive the steady continuance of this because of my mind's or the mind's instability. Verse 34, chapter 6. Chanchalam, Arjuna is still saying, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna, O Krishna, Pramathi balavat dridham, tasya aham nigraham manye, vayoho iva sudushkaram. Vayu, we all know, Vayu means wind. Just as to control Vayu, wind, is so difficult, similarly, to control my mind, I find it extremely difficult. So, Chanchalam, he mana, mind, mana is mind, is very difficult, Krishna, O Krishna. Pramathi balavat dridham, this mind is so stubborn, so, the word Ziddi comes to my mind in Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, not common Indian languages. Pramathi, very highly disturbed and turbulent, powerful, obstinate. So let's read what translation is saying here. The mind indeed is unstable, Krishna. Turbulent, powerful, obstinate. I think it is as difficult to control as the wind. Vayu eva sudushkaram. Dushkaram, difficult. So difficult. Sudushkaram. Alright, verse 35. Bhagwan comes back. Shri Bhagwan Ovach. Krishna is speaking again. Asanshayam mahabaho. Manaha durnigraham chalam. Abhyasena tu konteya vairagyena cha greyate. I agree with you, Arjuna. Asanshayam, no, undoubtedly, Mahabaho, oh, the great warrior with great, large, strong arms, Mahabaho. Manaha durnigraham chalam. Yes, mind is extremely difficult to control its instability. But abhyasen, by practice, tu konteya, O son of Kunti, vairagyena chagrayate. As you grasp or as you obtain more and more renunciation, dispassion, you can control your mind, you can try to control your mind. So the blessed Lord spoke. Bhagwan is blessed Lord. Why? Because Bhagwan is the most highest blessed being. One who is highest blessed can bless us all. Bhagwan, one who has obtained all kinds of blessings, who is already blessed with highest blessings, is kind of a cyclical word. Bhagwan who blesses us is already blessed. Bhagwan, the blessed Lord, spoke. Without doubt, O Arjuna, the mind is unsteady and difficult to restrain, but by practice, O Arjuna, and by indifference to worldly object, it is restrained. So Vairagya has been translated as indifference. But commonly we translate Vairagya with renunciation or dispassion. I think those are better words, but here, indifference. Chapter 6, verse 36. Asanyat atmana yogaha dushprap iti me matihi vashyatmana tu yatata shakyaha avaptum upayataha. So Krishna is responding to Arjuna's doubt that mind is extremely unstable. What should I do? I cannot control my mind. So Krishna says, I agree. Dushprap iti me matihi. I also agree. My opinion. I also agree with you, what you're saying. Dushprap, it is extremely difficult to obtain that state of controlled mind by asanyat atmana yoga. Asanyat, difficult to obtain. Asanyat is uncontrolled by yoga. But then Krishna says, tu, however, yatata, by efforts, vashyatmana, by controlling mind, shakya avaptum upayata, by striving, by efforts, by continuously trying, by striving, it is possible to attain through proper means, by renunciation, as he said in the previous verse. And now Arjuna asks again, verse 37, Arjuna uvacha. Ayatihi shraddhaya upetaha yogat chalitamanasaha aprapya yoga sansiddhim kam gatim krishna gacchati. So now he is saying, if somebody tries, that person has faith, but from yoga that person is not able to practice the yoga's perfection. Ayatihi, one who could not succeed, one who is not sufficiently practicing renunciation. Yati also refers to the word renunciation, sannyasi. So ayatihi, one who is not able to practice that extreme or ultimate renunciation, dispassion. Ayatihi. Shraddhaya upeta, that person has the faith. Shraddhaya upeta, that person is practicing Shraddha, but not sufficiently practicing renunciation. So that person, yoga chalita manasa, that person's mind, yoga chalitaha, that person has moved away from the true, real yoga. Aprapi yoga sansiddhim, that person has failed in obtaining the success, the accomplishment of the ultimate yoga. Kam gatim Krishna gachati. So, O Krishna, please tell me what happens to that person who has made some progress but has not yet obtained the ultimate success. So Arjuna spoke, one who is uncontrolled through the yoga, though he has faith, whose mind is fallen away from yoga, who does not attain perfection in yoga, which way Krishna does that person go? Verse 38. Again Arjuna is saying, Kaschin na ubhaya vibrashtasya chinna abhram iva nashyati apratishthah mahabaho vimudhah brahmanah pathi. So Arjuna is asking the extreme questions. He's worried that if somebody fails in practicing yoga, does that person completely perish? Kaschin na ubhaya vibrashtash. That person has lost both ubhaya, both this world and the afterworld, the next world. So that this world right here on the earth and the heavens, that person is gone from everywhere. Chin abhram eva nashyati. Chin abhram. Abhram is a very interesting word. Abhram refers to cloud, the rain cloud. Just as a cloud disappears in the rain suddenly, that person is also going to be perished. Arjuna is doubting that. Apratishta Mahabahu. So here Arjuna is referring to Krishna as Mahabahu. Oh, the mighty armed ones, oh Krishna. The person who has failed in yoga, apratishta. That person is not only unstable, that person also loses the prestige of practicing yoga. Pratishtha also means prestige. But pratishtha here most likely means the stability. Apratishta, unstable. Apratishta Mahabahu, Vimudha Brahmanah Pati. That person is lost, deluded from the path of Brahman. So is that person not lost like a disappearing cloud, having fallen from both worlds, having no lost solid ground, O Krishna, confused on path of Brahman? Verse 39. Etan me sanshayam Krishna. This is my doubt. Etan me sanshayam Krishna. Chetum arhasi asheshataha. Tvat anyah sanshaya asya. Cheta na hi upapadyate. Except you, nobody else can remove this doubt of me. Etan me sanshaya. My doubt, O Krishna. Chetum arhasi asheshata. You can completely remove this doubt, Krishna. Please explain. Tvad anya, except you, sanshaya asya, sanshayasya asya, this particular doubt that I have, cheta na hi upapadyate. Except you, nobody else can remove this doubt that I have. So he's like praising or appreciating Krishna's or admiring Krishna's power to dispel all kinds of doubt, obviously. Verse 40, Krishna makes his entry again. So Krishna now speaks. Sri Bhagavan Uvach. Parth na iva iha na amutra vinashas tasya vidyate nahi kalyan krit kaschid durgatim tat gacchati. O tat, O dear one. Durgatim tat gacchati. Na kaschid. Nahi kalyan krit kaschid durgatim tat gacchati. The person who does something good in life, good efforts, spiritual efforts, kalyan, that person is trying to do spiritual welfare on himself or herself, never goes to Durgati. Nothing bad can ever happen to that kind of a person, even if that person is succeeding only partially. Partha na iva iha na amutra. Neither here in this world, na amutra. Amutra means the heavens. Vinashas tasya vidyate. That person's destruction is not known, will never happen. Nahi kalyan krit kaschit durgatim tat gacchati. So that person can never perish. The blessed Lord spoke, Arjuna, neither here on earth nor in heaven above is there found to be destruction of him. No one who does good goes to misfortune, my son. Never bad can happen to a person who is trying for spiritual perfection, even if that person has not yet achieved the full perfection. The first verse, chapter 6. Prapya punya kritan lokan ushitva shashvati hi samaha Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashtah Abhijayate. One who is slightly corrupt in practice of the yoga. Right? Even if that person is slightly corrupt, slightly fallen, slightly failed. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. That person will continue to progress in the next life by taking the next life, next birth in good household. Prapya Punya Kritan Lokan. So that person has obtained some merit, some positive karma, ushitva shashvati sama, and has spent considerable time in trying to better himself or herself. Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe, that goes to the better home, better family next time. Yoga Prashta Abhijayate. Attaining the worlds of the meritorious, having dwelt there for endless years, he who has fallen from yoga is born again in the dwelling of the radiant and the illustrious. And the 42nd verse. Atva yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam etadhi durlabhtaram loke janma yad idrasham. Loke janma yad idrasham. That kind of birth in this world, etadhi durlabhtaram, extremely difficult, very difficult to obtain that kind of a birth. So because that person has put in some efforts, that person will in the next life will get birth in an extremely well placed family. Kule bhavati dhimatam atva yoginam eva. So finally, or he may be born in the family of wise yogins. Such a birth as this is very difficult to attain in the world. So extremely rare kind of family. Rare in the sense of extremely highly developed spiritual family will be blessed with the birth of a person who has slightly failed in the practice of the yoga. Even if you don't attain the moksha in this life, so it's a kind of an encouragement that even if you're not achieving moksha in this one life and you fail a little bit, next life you are going to be placed in a very favorable conditions, very favorable situations, so that you can continue your journey towards attaining moksha in the next life, and you can keep going higher and higher. 43rd shlok, chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. The yoga of meditation is the entire focus of the entire chapter. Tatra tam buddhi sanyogam labhate paurvadehikam yatate cha tatah bhuyah sansiddhau kuru nandana. So Krishna has been explaining what happens to somebody who has been trying to attain moksha but fails. What happens to the efforts that he or she has already put in through this lifetime? Does all that go into waste? Arjuna asks. So Krishna responds, no, nothing is wasted. You keep building on your efforts from this life to the next life and so on. So here, continuing the theme, 43rd verse, Krishna says, Tatra tam buddhi sanyogam. By the yoga of the buddhi, intellect, right? Labhate parva dehikam. Parva, prior, dehikam, body, lifetime, that is, from the previous lifetime, labhate, obtains, yatate, by efforts, cha tatah bhuyah, again. Bhuyah is very interesting word. Bhuyah means again. We never use it. We say phir se or again or words like that. Ek bar phir in Hindi or other Indian languages. But bhuyah means also again. Yatate cha tatah bhuyah sansiddhau, to the perfection, to the major accomplishments, that is moksha, Kuru Nandana. Kuru Nandana means son, Kuru, the lineage of Kuru. Kuru, which gives us Kaurav, Nandan means son, Dashrath Nandan Sri Ram, son of Dashrath is Sri Ram. So here Kuru Nandan, Arjuna. So there he regains the knowledge derived from a former body or former life, and he strives onward once more toward perfection, O Arjuna, O Kuru Nandana. Verse 44th. Purvabhyasena tenaiva hiyate hi avashah api saha jigyasuh api yogasya shabd brahma ati vartate. Shabd brahma ati vartate. Yes. Purvabhyasena tenaiva. By his prior experience, by his prior practice, by his prior, let's see here, it says, yes, performance, practice, exactly. Tenaiva, by that prior experience in the previous lifetimes, riyate means he's conveyed, he's brought avashah api. Avashya is such an interesting word. Avashya, we say, avashya means necessary or compulsory or mandatory. But avashya word is based on avashah. Avashah, vash, that you can control. Avash, that you cannot control. Avashya, that cannot be controlled. So necessary, compulsory, mandatory, all those meanings are attached to the word avashya, which becomes zaruri in Urdu, Arabic, Persian. Here it's avashah. So even if somebody tries to stop the progress, they cannot stop the progress because it is kind of a law of momentum. Whatever efforts you put in the previous births will push you forward for more and more progress in this lifetime. Jigyasu api yogasya shabda brahma ativartate. That person goes beyond the linguistic knowledge, beyond the Vedas, Shabda Brahm. He goes much beyond the knowledge of the texts, knowledge of the scriptures. He goes towards a major accomplishment. He is carried on even against his will by prior practice. He who even wishes to know of yoga transcends Brahman in the form of sound, that is Vedic recitation. Vedic recitation is just, is very inferior in a way to attaining moksha. It is not about theoretical knowledge of the Vedas, it is about realizing the Brahman. That is what happens by your prior practice. You keep progressing towards your major accomplishment beyond lifetimes. 45th verse. Prayatnad yat manastu yogi sanshuddha kil vishayi anek janma sansiddhas tatah yati param gatim. Like just what I was explaining, by the practice goes beyond multiple lifetimes through persevering effort. Prayatnad yat manastu, by controlling the mind. Yogi sanshuddha kil vishay. The negative karmas, the evil karmas, the papas, the sins are purified beyond multiple lifetimes, and one accomplishes the final goal, that is moksha. Right? The yogin completely cleansed of evil and perfected through many births goes to supreme goal. Verse 46. Tasvibhyah adhikah yogi jnanibhyah api matah adhikah karmibhyash cha adhikah yogi, or karmibhyah cha adhikah yogi tasmat yogi bhava Arjuna. O Arjun, become such a yogi. A yogi is superior to tapasvi, one who practices merely austerities. A yogi is better than that. Jnanibhyah api mati adhika. Jnanibhyah api matah adhika. A yogi is superior to even more, better than even a scholar. Karmibhyah cha adhikah yogi. Yogi is even beyond, even superior to somebody who is just doing a lot of actions. Tasmad yogi bhava Arjuna. O Arjun, become a yogi, because a yogi is superior to all other people, such as somebody who is doing austerities, somebody who is a scholar, or somebody who is just putting a lot of efforts. So become a yogi. Krishna is telling Arjun, become a yogi, become attached to the Brahman, become connected to the Arjun, to the Brahman, realize that Brahman by becoming a yogi. And finally, the last verse of chapter 6. Yoginam api sarvesham mad gatehe anantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yahamam same yukta tamaha mataha. The best yogi, even among the yogis, yoginam api sarvesham, among all the different kinds of yogis, among all the different yogis, among all the yogis, mad gatehe anantaratmana, one whose inner conscience, antaratma, mad gate, is connected with me, with my condition, my situation, with just simply me. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam, and one who is always devoted to me by the utmost supreme faith, Shraddha. Sa me yukta tamaha mataha. Yukta tamaha, that's the best yogi, one who is always connected with me. Of all these yogis, he who has merged his inner self in me, honors me, full of faith, is thought to be the most devoted to me. That is the ultimate kind of a yogi, and that completes our 6th chapter. We will start 7th chapter on the next Sunday, and so 6 chapters we have finished. Only 12 chapters more remaining, total 18 chapters, and so yoga of meditation is done, Dhyana yoga is done. Thank you and namaste.